Welcome to Matt's Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. We're all excited here because we're expecting the Pope tomorrow, and actually the event will be held just outside my office. I hope I can get up here without too much trouble and watch it. Then this Saturday we have Mindspeak. I'm looking forward to hosting Kiprono, Kittony, who's the chairman of the Kenya National Chamber, an economic diplomat par excellence, and much more, farmer and a media man as well, and he's got a wonderful attitude to life, and I think he'll have a lot to tell us about what's going on at the Pan-African level. What is Mindspeak is a little bit of a clip that we made a little while ago. Have a look at that. Home thoughts. Layla was telling me about Othello this morning, which I also studied. Here are two quotes. "Men in rage strike those that wish them best." That's true. "Reputation, reputation, reputation. Oh, I have lost my reputation. I have lost the immortal part of myself, and what remains is bestial." I told Layla I could never embrace Othello because in essence I always thought he was pretty thick, always being led by the nose. The National Gallery tweeted on November the 18th, "Happy Love Theatre Day. The performance in the interior of a theatre has sometimes been identified as Othello." I'm still hanging out with the Super Mario, that's Mario Vargas Llosa, and the bad girl. And this is a beautiful paragraph. Let me read it. "In the early years of the 1950s, there were still no tall buildings in Miraflores, a neighborhood of one-story houses, two at the most, and gardens with their inevitable geraniums, poincianas, laurels, bougainvilleas, lawns and verandas along which honeysuckle or ivy climbed, with rocking chairs where neighbors waited for nightfall, gossiping or inhaling the scent of the jasmine. In some parks there were chabo trees, thorny with red and pink flowers, and in the straight, clean sidewalks were lined with frangipani, jacaranda, and mulberry trees, a note of colour, along with the flowers in the gardens and the little Donofrio ice cream trucks that drove up and down the streets day and night, announcing their presence with a klaxon, whose slow ululation had the effect on me of a primitive horn, a prehistoric reminiscence. You could still hear birds singing in that Miraflores, where families cut a pine branch when their girls reached a marriageable age, because if they didn't, the poor things would become old maids like my Aunt Alberta." It's a beautiful writer, isn't that evocative of a world that once was, I think. You see that in Adam Curtis as well, when he does these documentaries about Americana. It's also of another age. Came across a super article in the London Review of Books. Before the Lebanese Civil War, Beirut was known as the Paris of the Middle East. Today, Paris looks more and more like the Beirut of Western Europe. Saying that, today Paris looks more and more like the Beirut of Western Europe, a city of incendiary ethnic tension, hostage-taking and suicide bombs. Paris is a symbol of the apostate civilization IS abhors, a den of prostitution and vice, in the words of its communique claiming responsibility for the attacks. Not only is France a former colonial power in North Africa and the Middle East, but along with Britain, it helped establish the Sykes-Picot colonial borders. Remember that video I showed you? That IS triumphantly bulldozed after capturing Mosul. Most important, it has, by proportion of total population, more Muslim citizens than any other country in Europe, overwhelmingly descendants of France's colonial subjects. What most of the jihadis appear to have in common is a lack of any serious religious training, According to most studies, there is an inverse relationship between Muslim piety and attraction to jihad. And that's an important point, because if you look through the history of these individuals, they all seem to be having a rather good time, and suddenly some moment. As Olivier Roy, the author of several books on political Islam, recently said, this is not so much the radicalization of Islam as the Islamicization of radicalism. Hollande's pursuit of economic diplomacy in the Arab world is a euphemism for an even cozier relationship with the Saudi kingdom, whose export of Wahhabist doctrine has done much to spread jihadist ideology. The alliance is an old one. It was a team of French commandos who came to the kingdom's defense during the 1979 siege of Mecca by a group of radical Islamists. That story was described to me by Said Aburish in Nice one night when we sat up talking, and it was really extraordinary to hear it from him. And obviously he'd done a lot of research. What they did is they flooded it and then electrocuted everybody in there. The kingdom's bastard children, exploiting Saudi anger over Obama's pursuit of a rapprochement with Tehran. France has aligned itself with the Saudis on Iran's nuclear program and on Syria, and is now competing with the US to become Saudi Arabia's top supplier of advanced military technology. Somebody else saying, we let a terrorist group grow into a monster, and when it attacks us we're surprised, and we're friends with countries that are responsible for disseminating this ideology. Saudi Arabia, we're in a total paradox. Roy is right that IS can't win in any conventional sense, but it doesn't have to expand the caliphate in order to remain in business. In the global society of the spectacle, it's on a roll. And saying that President Obama's determination to will the means for Assad's removal has never matched Russia or Iran's determination to keep him in power. In an earlier era, these conflicts might have remained separate, but they are now linked thanks to the very devices that are the symbol of globalization, our phones and laptops. It no longer makes sense to speak of near and far, or even of blowback. The theatre of the conflict has no clear borders, and its causes are multiple, overlapping and deeply rooted in histories of post-colonial rage. The attacks in Paris don't reflect a clash of civilizations, but rather the fact that we really do live in a single, if unequal, world, where the torments in one region inevitably spill over into another, where everything connects, sometimes with lethal consequences. For all its medieval airs, the Caliphate holds up a mirror to the world we have made, not only in Raqqa and Mosul, but in Paris, Moscow, and Washington. And let me put up a photograph that Charlie Joe tweeted of Paris and the Eiffel Tower, which I liked, and take you back to my article on the 16th of November when I said what is evident is that ISIS has struck deeper into the very heart of Fortress Europe, and higher, 35,000 feet in the case of Flight 9268. I also said in that same article that in an era of globalization, and this was quoting Paul Virilio, a nation's borders are no longer external, but run through the cities. Nations will have to defend themselves not abroad, but within their own dense metropolises. The metropolitics of globalization will take over the geopolitics of nations. And final quote from that article, if Paris was not the climactic finale, then we need to consider how hyper-terrorism is going to affect the globalized economy. The US government has issued a worldwide travel alert warning its citizens of the risks of traveling because of increased terrorist threats. I am sure everyone, including ISIS, are looking for Saleh Abdeslam, the on-the-run Paris jihadi. Police found a suicide belt in Montrouge in a bin, and the assumption is that he threw it there, and I think that's why I was saying ISIS are probably looking for him as well, because he might well have bailed out and blowing himself up. 10 years of Angela Merkel has come up, and she really has been a very big figure, European figure. Jerusalem Post tweeted Putin arrives in Iran and he came bearing gifts, an old Quran it seemed. And he really has struck back, and going back to my article in early October, that he's a geopolitical grandmaster, and I think he certainly is, apparently. And I was saying the speed of execution, I said in October, confirms that Russia is once again a geopolitical player that will have to be considered. It's a breathtaking rebound, and now we learn that Russian infantry forces are involved for the first time in a ground attack in Syria. At Ynet News, Russia has begun to place infantry tanks in northern Syria. And I started thinking to myself, what if the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is secretly cheering Putin as he expunges ISIS, because they now appreciate that if they left IS, they might well reroute to Riyadh. And then on that other note, Putin has in fact triangulated the triangulators with that insertion of tanks into northern Syria, fending off a possible no-fly zone on the Turkish border. And then I came across this in Global Research, the dirty war on Syria, the basics. Put up a photograph of Asma and Bashar al-Assad, and quote something from WikiLeaks, which was quoting a Saudi Arabian WikiLeaks. Syrian regime must be destroyed to avoid revenge for what we've done to them already. Let's move on. International markets. The likelihood of higher Fed rates by year end is 72%, futures show. Currency markets, euro 106.39. It did touch a 7-month low of 105.92. And last week got as high as 107.36. Dollar index around the 99.76 level, not far off an 8th-month high of 100, which was struck overnight. Japanese yen 122.72, Swissy 101.87, pound 151.52, Aussie 0.7210, Indian rupee 66.385, South Korean 111.5478, Rial 373, Egyptian pound 783, Rand 1406. I'll put up a 3-month chart of the dollar index. It's very firm, trading strong. Euro dollar, let me put up a 3-month chart, trading soft, but it's held around this 106 level. Let's see if it can hold on. Commodity markets, obviously there's a big world leaders meet looking for a path to slow the warming of the planet. Newsweek confirmed that October 2015 was the hottest October ever recorded on the globe. And that was informing my article over the weekend about the universe, at the enormous scale, then talking about El Nino and the weatherproofing of savings. Siberia's melting permafrost fuels global warming. That's Al Jazeera. Gold, let me put up a 6-month chart, 1072 now. Under pressure, I think, and triple digits is on its way. Crude oil got a little bit of a lift. WTI $42.04. This was on Saudi jaw-drawing, but let's see what happens. I think the market turned defensive ahead of OPEC, but I don't expect much out of them. Russia's stocks soared to the highest level since 2008. Have a look at this chart from Olga. The election of Mauricio Macri as the new Argentine president. Have a look at the currency chart. After its breaking its 1-to-1 peg with the dollar in early 2002, the Argentina peso lost 90% of its value over the last 13 years. Not dissimilar story to Zambia. Have a look at the Argentine bond chart. You can see the market started getting excited about the possibility of Mauricio Macri winning. And then Charlie Robertson, Red Cat Man on Twitter, talks of a 40% surge into Argentina's stock market since September. Let's move on to Africa. Mali still searching for several accomplices in the Radisson Hotel siege. Investigators from State Security, among others, are looking after several suspected accomplices. They are focusing in the capital, where the two attackers spent the night before launching the attack. As a result, we want to know who hosted them. It's still not clear to me. The Malian president was saying it wasn't Al-Qaeda, it was another offshoot, and it's not clear what was actually behind this attack to me. The Guardian posted an image from the Mali National Broadcaster Office of Radio and Television of two individuals that I think were killed in this attack. And then Zendena Abebi tweeted a sunset in Bamako from November the 17th. And put up that photograph. Interesting piece in Quartz Africa, the charts behind Zambia's struggling economy and a controversial IMF loan. Been a tough couple of months for Edgar Lungu. Mr. Lungu was elected on a slim margin following the death of Michael Sata. In the 9 months or so he's been charged, the kwacha has depreciated by about 80% to the dollar, making it the world's worst performing currency, according to Bloomberg. Secondly, an electricity crisis that was merely lurking beneath the surface has become full-blown during his presidency since about June this year, and probably for the first time since independence. Households and industry have had to contend with power outages of up to 12 hours a day as a result of a 50% electricity supply deficit. Price of copper has declined by about 11% in 2015. Copper is Zambia's most important export. 80% of all FX is earned from the exports of copper. Fiscal deficit widened to 6% of GDP at the end of 2014 from 1% in 2011. This year the government expects the deficit to widen further to 7% of GDP. Practically, this means that the government has a $1.9 billion shortfall in revenues in 2015. Thirdly, they've borrowed heavily from external sources to finance an ambitious infrastructure program. Sovereign bonds totaling $3 billion have been issued over the last 3 years to pay for various projects, leading to a substantial increase in the country's external debt stock. Total external debt has increased by 300% between 2011 and 2015. According to this article, the IMF visited and issued a statement on Friday where it looked like they did not extend a loan to Zambia. Following day, a highly trusted local newspaper, citing credible sources within government, reported that the IMF had proposed a $1 billion facility which the president had turned down. He's going to obviously rely on China. I put up a chart of the copper price, which is below $4,500 a ton, lowest level since 2009. Thank you, Holger. South African all-share up 4.87% this year, outperforming the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. Dollar rand, let me put up a 6-month chart. For now, it seems to have found its base, but I still think we're going to print fresh all-time lows. Egyptian pound 783, Egyptian EGX 30 fell 2.36% yesterday. It's down 27.73% this year, and just 149 points off a 2015 low. Nigerian all-share fell 1.02%. That's down 19.66% year to date, and 448 points above a 2015 low. The Ghana Stock Exchange is down 12.73% this year. Mozambique Bank is discussing options with tuna bond investors. We can't resist that headline. Banco Nacional de Investimento, Mozambican bank, has begun discussions with investors to restructure an $850 million bond issued by the state-owned tuna company. If we manage to extend the debt, they want to extend the debt, reduce the interest payments. The longer we can extend it, the better. If we can lower the interest rate, it's better. The yield on the September 2020 bonds rose 10 basis points to 9.96% Monday in the capital, Maputo, which is a wonderful city where you can get the world's best prawns. Let's move on to Kenya. We declare with immediate effect corruption and national security threat. President Kenyatta, I think his heart's in the right place, but he's going to have to follow up with some serious action now, because words are carrying very little import in this point. The currency we have the most problem with is the Kenyan shilling, said Renaissance Capital analysts in an email note on Monday. On recent marketing trips, we kept showing our charts, which have the Kenyan shilling as the most overvalued currency in frontier markets. We ourselves are struggling with this. RenCap said Kenya's high interest rates are holding the country's currency at a stronger level than it should be, undermining the investment bank's view that the shilling has to depreciate almost 50% against the dollar to reach fair value. I believe that we have seen the low for the year for the shilling, and I had it back below 100, called for 152. Not even withstanding a Fed strike in December, which might delay that move back into double digits, is rather extreme. Shilling is at 102.09. Nairobi All-Share up 7.53% in November, but still down 9.37% a year for this year, but it's at a 7-week high. NSE 20, which is down 21.355% this year, has rallied 3.955% in November and closed above 4,000 for the first time since October the 9th. The market has had a strong run, but was beginning to look a little bit tired in places yesterday, particularly Safaricom, which very much led this rebound. I'm going to the King's Day at the Belgian Embassy, which I'm looking forward to. It's been interesting to hear from them what exactly is going on in Brussels. And I wish you a great week.